The true existence of us. Topic about souls, or the soul. 2022 consciousness, awareness, awakenings, all that stuff. It's very popular. It's like a whole nother type of error that we're not used to that's getting very, very popular. I've understood it in many different ways, whether it's a fashion fad or just something that's becoming natural. Whether it's eating or changing your lifestyle or habit or anything. But the main topic is the soul. Like, in the work that I do, it's like the soul's always misunderstood, especially with all the images, the illustrations, the pictures. They're all fascinating, and they all have like a meaning to it. But like any other type of artwork or illustration, it's like detailed so well to where the illustration is like wow, and the meaning of the illustration is like hidden and completely like not understood. Consciousness, being aware, being able to use our thinking, being able to know our surroundings, and being able to know. Evolvement is always in production. It is always going. It is always moving. It is always flowing. It's always happening. Can't veer from it. Time is time. Every second, every minute, every hour, it is going. Building day by day. The world is getting populated. One of the big money industries would be medical facilities alone. And then you have the medication industry, pharmaceuticals. That alone is a good fraction of money. Tie that in with anything happening legal-wise. Could be anything. Anything legal. You know, because if you're paying for something with a legal matter, you're having to prove your innocence, and everything costs money. That raises the fraction of money that we all work for. We all, need money to survive, basically. Business is always a flow. You get what you pay for. 2022. It's like anything else. You have generic brands and you have like brand line. it's kind of interesting how the world works. A lot of people are blind to it. A lot of people aren't aware of it until you go through a phase or some type of wake-up call in life or whatever, you know. My experience, I always talk about my experience, because that's how I understood everything. Didn't go to school for this. It just happened through experience. And so, as I've been doing what I do, helping people, here and there, it's like I start to understand more and more. And of course, there's always questions. There's always a question. And one of the biggest questions I always get is the soul. Like, where do we go when we die, right? It's like, is it like everything that is advertised? Like, is it? Is it metaphysical? Is it what we see on TV? Is it like all the images that are online, you know? Like, because anybody nowadays can Google it or go on YouTube and basically watch something, understand it, but the videos or the images, it's like, whoa, more capturing, like, does this really happen? And it's like, there's always going to be a debate about that, right? Because it's like one of those things, like, can you prove it? Like, you'd have to sit there and watch someone die, literally, right? And then you'd have to be able to see it. Like, you have to be able to see the non-existence and what they're looking for. And it's like, okay, how do you prove it, right? Well, it's easy. It's through understanding. It's through an experience, awareness. I've seen many things since my experience. I went through an experience to where what people would call like hitting your rock bottom. And it wasn't like a pity rock bottom. It was like all in one. And so we all go through those stages in life where like we forget about ourselves. And we kind of like, you know, forget things in life like eating right or drinking right or whatever it is. And going through that mishap a while back, it's like, how do you label, is it an awakening or is it an experience? So I understood it as a near-death experience that led me to awaken. And when I talk about awakening, I mean like a holy moly awaken. And it opened up my eyes to like look at life clearly, basically, instead of moping around or wondering like what if or whatever. And so understanding about the soul, it's like the soul leads to what I've come to a conclusion of a behavior, because it's what we know of ourselves. It's basically our true response, reaction of our passion. And a lot of people don't know what our passion is. Like, a lot of people would take the time out to think, which is great. And another word for it would be desire. Like, the difference between a passion and desire is like our passion is like we love doing it. We love whatever that passion is, and the desire would be the want. What would we do for that desire? Like, would we swim across the Atlantic Ocean for that desire? Or at what point would you say, okay, this is enough, I'm going to turn around? Well, that desire with that passion is going to put you from one end to the other end of that, ocean swim or whatever. And so the way I've come to understand it is the soul evolves. And evolving soul, or I'm gonna say it like evolving souls, because how we end up understanding how it travels along time and how it accumulates throughout centuries in history, basically, is through the behavioral system. It's like you can go as many generations back as you want, and as long as your parents, your grandparents, and so forth have documentations or some type of history of, like, grandma this is just an example, like grandma was a cook or did this, or grandpa worked at this place for and then uncle whatever, or however a parent would explain this to their generation of children. It's like we can understand how our families have had our behaviors throughout work history or throughout behavior history. Like those moments of family reunions that we go to, and dinner, Christmases, whatever it is, 4th of July's, Easter's, however families celebrate throughout the years. It's like you always get those comments like, cousins or aunts or whatever bragging, about this or this, or hey, you get these qualities from this so-and-so side of your family, whatever. Those are behavioral issues, right? And some are good, some are bad. That's how it is. There's only two of them. Like, some are good, some are bad, and then there's a bunch of words that can express them, whether so the existence of our behaviors, they travel a long time, and depending on how much we're in our family, or depending on the looking up rate, or the who lean towards more of being taught from, whether it's learning how to bathe, clothe, make your bed, clean up, any of those things. It teaches us how to, be human, how to walk, how to feed ourselves, how to clean ourselves, how to shop, how to live, basically, how to survive. And we understand, but we don't remember how we understood. Like, it just happened. Like, it's very rare that, any person out there can say, hey, I remember my first step in life. And it's like, realistically, your parents would either tell you about it or have a picture about it, right? And so we grow, we evolve, we get older, and We just start living. And our behaviors rub off the same way throughout time. Whether it's school or whatever events take part in our life, whatever we do. And so time goes on. And we evolve. At a young age, we don't really think about these things of passion or we don't think about these passions. We don't think about what we like or whatever because we're too involved in society. And it's like, for me, it was like having fun. Like, you see other kids or whatever, and it's like, oh, maybe I'll get to do that one day. Or, so-and-so has a bike, and it's like, run to your parents and say you want a bike too, or whatever. And so, basically, we don't put our thinking into our wants and what we like early in life. And then bam, 18, 19, 20 hits really quick, and it's like all of a sudden we have responsibilities. And we're taught like working, taking care of ourselves, and so forth, and all that stuff. And it's like, you have those little moments where it's like, oh wow, like, it's like I'm already working. Like most people would be, including myself, is like, oh wow, I finally got my license, or I finally got my car, or I'm driving now, or whatever, and it feels all great and wonderful. And it's like, it's like any other moment in life where it feels like you're moving up, or you're bettering yourself, or any of those things. And it's like we're just living fast, and we don't really think about our choices also. And I remember going through life like telling myself, oh, I'm still young, like I'll have so much time to do this, right? Or you have kids and it's like, you take care of your family, and you have other options, but they're just not like right at the moment. And it's like, oh well, I can do this, and then I have time to do that or whatever. And time goes by, like we just keep on going, keep on doing. And so, what we don't take the time out to do is just an analogy, like a saying that they would say, is to not allow time or stop time, right? And it's like, how can you stop time if it keeps on ticking? Well, it's all about taking a moment and understanding things in life, which is very hard to do, because when the average person does that, it's more likely to think about career setting, what you're doing in life, or which way you going, like what's the next purchase, or so forth. And we're usually like taught to basically good job, be stable, pay our bills, and buy a house, right? And that's usually like the goals of most people. It's a good size percentage of most people. And so taking the time out to not allow time to happen, to basically not worry about certain things, is very difficult to do. But eventually we're all gonna do that at some point in time, even if you hit that lowest point in life. And for me, it was a wake up call. It was like, okay, near death experience, and then you wake up the next day, and it's like, wow, you understand life differently. And it's like you want to do everything at once. And so I took the time to evaluate a lot of things in life, and from relationships to what I want to do, what I like to do, figuring out where I went wrong, what happened, all that stuff, which led me to this point of helping people. Because the earlier we catch it, it's like we all have a chance. And it does so many things in life. Like, it can literally save us money, it can allow us to live longer, it can... so many things. It can help our family, it can help history, it can do that thing that you only see on movies where they say it can, like, save the world, basically, right? And so during the time that I was understanding everything, it's like I started figuring out a lot of things, and it was like only if I knew earlier in life, it could have saved a lot of things from being better. Meaning not so many failures, not having to try as hard, and so forth. So I learned the three most important things is the desire, passion, and choices. And those are the behaviors that we tend to forget about, that we don't use. To me, it's like the most powerful ability that you can ever have in life. Because based off of what I was explaining about behaviors throughout our time of life and our, ancestors' times and so forth, it's like we just know what to do because we're taught what to do. It becomes natural, like riding a bike, or like we all look forward to that certain age of getting a job or having a family or driving or being able to experiencing something as we get older. And so we never recognize these things in life because we're too busy following the next person's decision or getting advice from the next person without understanding it ourselves, because we think the other person is more experienced. And so even seeking like professional help or professional advice, it'd be like the way they would do it with their own liking or passion in life and stuff like that. So it's like we never really realize, and we're never really aware, like, hold up, like, I did everything in life because this was told to me, or this was taught to me, or this is the way I saw it, or whatever. And so a lot of people don't realize that they had the ability to make their own choices, and the ability to have that right, that true meaning of a right, of freedom, of a free will, to make that choice. And it is difficult to do sometimes because it does take a lot of other qualities of behavior, which is taking that step or not knowing if you're gonna, move along or just fall throughout, your tryings of life, whatever hobby or career or whatever it is that you want for yourself. And so a lot of people have that little weariness of, or that doubt is like, am I able to accomplish it or not? But being able to accomplish it, you have to be able to take that initiative step, or that just doing, right? And so, with those two combined, it's like you have what we're used to and what we're not used to. And it's like they both need to be understood, because it's easier to understand what we're used to, but what we're not used to, it's more difficult because of the way we understand what I would call like love or self-acceptance or liking or whatever it is, because of our emotions. And so our emotions are always affected to where it allows a person to do or not do. And so it all becomes like a behavioral issue, whether it's a good behavioral issue or not a good behavioral issue. And it all incorporates in the way we treat each other, because the way we treat each other allows us to feel comfortable or not comfortable with each other. And so many ways. And that's just like the empathy quality of things. When you get into a whole nother understanding of it, it's like in the business field or life itself, dealing with people instead of like friends or family, it's like more of a weariness or sketchiness, because it's like, you don't want to get ripped off, or you don't want to waste your money or whatever you're doing in life on an investment that can put you behind or whatever. And it gets more effective. But our behaviors and how we feel about ourselves is very important to us, to our bodies, to our health, to our well-being, to our survival rate, to everything. And so to be able to do something in life, whether it's difficult or not, but yet to be able to be happy doing it and to feel good about yourself, that's like your soul, right? You can have that happy soul, or you can have that sad soul, or you can have that draining soul, or you can have that tiring soul. All those words that you can tell yourself when you're talking to your friends at the end of the day or on a weekend about your work, it's like, how are you describing your week? Was it draining, tiring, exciting, or whatever it was? Because that's your soul. Like, how are you expressing it to your friends? Like, are you putting on that fake smile and then going home complaining about things? Because at that point, it's like, what's your soul kind of understanding at that point? So the soul itself is the final way we feel about ourselves, how we think about ourselves, how we basically label ourselves, how we can express ourselves in that 1, 2, or 3 words. And so our soul, to me, and this is my opinion, it exists in the way we created ourselves. They're exactly what I just explained. We choose our path in life, which can be good or bad. And how we choose and make choices based off of right from wrong, we chose our way of living and our way of being. The more we do that with our own decision making and giving ourselves the option of choice, we have a less of a effect of that way of other people dominating or taking control of our life. It's about valuing life. Valuing life in 2 different ways. Being able to be humane about it, being able to value our own lives, being able to value other people's life properly, being able to properly show people empathy the proper way without making ourselves feel obligated. Being able to allow ourselves to feel happy in the right way so we can not only say something about ourselves, but we actually know it because it makes us feel good just knowing that, hey, I did this and it was all for the right reasons, it helped, it did everything. And your whole body aligns to a comfortability of things. And just that yet alone brings down your vital signs to where you can lower your blood pressure. You can become more healthier. You can become relaxed. It's like whew, everything's like a weight off your shoulders, you know? And it can save lives, our behavior alone. And so the more and more this is understood properly, the more and more, like, parents don't have to watch their children die. Or parents don't have to watch their children go through the same thing that the parent went through, that the parent strives that they don't want the child to go through. And so it creates a better world, you know, creates a better universe. The universe is important because it's how we live. Our soul is our soul. It's that peace that a scientist can't find. There's so many things that the brain can do. So many functions. So many everything. And there ain't one scientist out there, not a doctor, nobody, that can find that piece of the brain that makes that decision making. We have reflection and we have reaction. You put your hand on the fire and it burns you. That reaction is going to tell you not to do it again, or it hurt, or it immediately pulls back. And reflection in so many ways, it's like we can reflect back on understanding that, not letting it happen again, just like we can with our choices in life and what happens to us when we make wrong decisions, or if you get in trouble or we get hurt in an accident or whatever. We can, reflect back on that and stuff. But the decision making is that piece that isn't a part of our body. Because we were taught. It doesn't matter if we were taught good or bad. We got used to living a certain way. As the world evolves, as we evolved, we get used to doing so many things, but we're having a lot of options as the years keep moving on up. Technology arrives, technology gets more and more enhanced every year, and we start having so many options in life. So many wants, so many things. And those ways of being able to decide how we do it can be based off of other people and what they're doing and what they want, or what another person wants of that person, and it causes another behavior issue, whether it's a jealousy want, or it can be just the fact of a fad, like, hey, I want clothes like that too to fit in or whatever. And so we're all like trying to fit in. And during all these things happening with our life, it's causing a reaction of not allowing ourselves to take the time out and make our own decision. Making a decision, yet alone with no influential behavior, can be an awesome thing. And then, of course, always document it. Always write it down, highlight it, record it on a voice recorder and play it every day. Because you might have that awareness or that time in life where you can have it so fast, but then somebody will call you or whatever, and then it goes and it went and came or whatever. Or if it happens in another way, it's like you've already tried everything in life and you know that it's time to try something different. And so the only thing on your mind is knowing the different thing that you want to do. And so there's going to be a lot of obstacles. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. There's going to lead to techniques of finding a way to do so. Or, so many things that are very normal of us to have to do to get to where we want in life. But if you take the time out to reflect on these things, I know for a fact that you can get there at an earlier rate than not knowing. You know, we all live life. We all deserve to be happy. We all try to find happiness in so many ways. And knowing these things will allow us to at least be able to have our own happiness and not other people's happiness and things like that. So life itself, you know, living, it's always going to have its ups and downs. And to acquire happiness can affect our souls. And having to have to treat ourselves to keep going. And so, at the end of the day, my acknowledgement to myself, my experience, my awareness, every bit of my understanding is, does our soul leave our body when we die? No, it doesn't. It puts us to rest. It allows us to close our eyes. How we close our eyes is important to me. How we feel about ourselves when that happens is important to me. The most important thing is knowing that my children can be able to enjoy life more than I did. So our soul doesn't leave the body. Our soul teaches. What we teach to each other is important, because that's how we evolve. Our souls don't leave our body. Our souls communicate. Our souls as people communicate. There's many ways to communicate, but there's only two ways to behave. And that's good or bad.